Hello, everybody. It's Adam from the Poisoner's Almanac. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get to the episode. We want to say thank you for all of the 5-star reviews that you guys are leaving. That acts like a tip jar, and it pushes the podcast further into the algorithms on all these platforms where you guys are listening. So we appreciate you guys leaving those. Also want to mention the podcast Instagram, the Poisoners_Almanac. There's going to be a link in the show notes to follow that account. Becca runs that account herself, and she goes to an even deeper level of detail with all of our content on there. So give that a follow. Also want to mention, we just discovered that listener support on Spotify is limited to US-based listeners. We didn't know this, did we?
No.
Right. So what we're thinking of doing is shifting, the support option over to a Patreon. And you guys, let us know what you think about that. But we want anybody across the world, the rest of our audience, to be able to support the podcast if they choose to. So we're really, seriously considering jumping to Patreon so anybody anywhere can support the podcast. And we want to say thanks to the monthly supporters that we have already: Belshawn Harris, Taylor McCaleb, Carl Ziegler Jr. Thank you guys so much for your monthly support. And what else?
Oh, don't look at me. It is 9:30 in the morning on a Friday. Yeah. I have had one cup of coffee.
Dude, I did not sleep well last night. I'm dragging myself.
But I got notes ready.
That's right. Yeah, you do. Because you're a gangster, right? So keep all that in mind, folks. Thank you for listening. Let's jump into the episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. The Poisoner's Almanac. I am Adam.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'll tell you what, babe, we are both dragging this morning.
Yeah. But it's Friday.
It is Friday. We almost made it.
Just going to pull our way to the top of this weekend. Great.
Just going to coffee our way to the top.
Yeah.
We got a Dungeons and Dragons brouhaha scheduled for tomorrow.
Technically, it's Shadowhunters.
Shadowhunters, excuse me. The tabletop RPG folks.
Yeah.
You get what we're talking about.
It's going to be good. Yeah. But we had the kids started back to school this week, and
yes,
just getting my child out of bed to get to school on time has been so difficult all week long. She's not a morning person. I'm not a morning person, but I try to fake it so that I can help her. So here we are.
If you don't believe in resurrection from the dead, just know that my wife is doing it every weekday morning with our daughter.
Literally pulling her and carrying her downstairs.
That's right. You get her dressed in the bed, right? And then I chant
downstairs. Bacon over her. And then she's like, yay.
The incantation, bacon.
Because that's all she'll eat in the mornings.
Wingardium bacon.
And she just rises out of her bed.
She just floats up there. We keep the window shades down so nobody sees the witchcraft.
Oh my God. I mean, nothing would shock me anymore in this day and age.
Come on.
So
you got to try hard. You got to try harder than that to make it weird.
And I do.
And I do. Yep. So, what have you cooked up for us today? Let her cook.
I am honestly excited about this episode. I mean, I'm excited about every episode because I do.
Don't lie.
I love all the things we talk about, but
yes.
I feel like it's random, but it's also going to be good because we're going to talk about 3 more medications that have been used as poisons, and
oh man,
you might find
we got more.
At least one of these rather odd. There's plenty that have been used. These are just some that have more on, we've read about them and they've been more famous in the news and things like that.
I'm immediately interested. You guys might know I'm a physical therapist for my day job. Rebecca is a registered nurse herself. I do home health care, And I deal with medications so much. It is a staggering amount.
Yeah, I'm a burned out nurse, so I don't do that anymore.
You're
But
a BORN. You're born.
anyway, so here we are. But yeah, I hope those who were angry with me about the elderberries being toxic last week are, when not cooked or processed correctly, mind you, are feeling better. Because I wasn't trying to hurt anybody's feelings.
The indignation online over you saying that,
it was not even
it has not calmed down. I don't want you to leave the house today, if that's okay.
I mean, I wasn't going
elderberry Twitter is so pissed.
Not elderberry Twitter.
She's not even on Twitter. So.
No, I'm not.
Elderberry talk is so mad at you.
Not elderberry talk. But yeah, no elderberry hate here. Just don't go picking berries and putting them in your mouth. Not a good idea.
It's like that meme from Nick Miller from New Girl when he's like, "Of course you're allowed to have elderberries, but the way you're doing it is really annoying."
Anyway, we're going to talk about some other remedies that are toxic when not prepared correctly or when given or taken inappropriately.
Let's do it.
And some people have gotten quite creative with how they've committed murder, even recently.
Ooh. Jumping right in the crime. Okay.
Now, a few historical cases I want to mention involve the drug Veronal. You might know it as barbital.
Barbital? I take oceans of it.
This was commonly used in the 1920s and 30s. It was the first barbiturate available and could easily be bought over the counter as a sleep aid.
Massive yikes.
Look, you could buy a whole lot of stuff over the counter back in the day.
This. We covered we've covered these things.
You had arsenic in your wallpaper, so just go lick some wallpaper and you're not going to be doing well.
We lived in a wild time not too long ago.
Indeed. So now, yeah, basically it is diethyl barbituric acid.
Barbituric acid? Okay.
It's fun to say.
Yeah, it is.
And barbital was marketed in 1904 by Bayer as...
Not them guys.
As Veronal.
Oh, man.
Bayer has a long and interesting history, to be honest. Some good, some not so good. But yeah, they've been around for a while. It was also created as a soluble salt form that was sold by the Sharing Company and called Medinol. I've never heard of that one, but
how do you spell that?
Medinal.
Medinol. Okay.
That's medical. What I said. Oh my god.
No. I didn't know if it was a T. I don't know if it was a T or a D.
Medinol.
Right. Like it's a marketing born name for the drug. Okay.
It was first synthesized in 1902 by the German chemists Emil Fischer and Joseph von Mering. I wish I had like von in the middle of my name.
I mean, you kind of should. You kind of should. Rebecca von Becker.
Why are you using my maiden name, you jerk? God, I don't want to watch that again. Oh my gosh.
And who, may I ask, is the father? Good time.
Yeah, if y'all haven't seen Father of the Bride, y'all are missing out. Like, that's an older movie, but it's so good. So good.
Mother of the Bride and the movie?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
All right. While its taste, barbital, Veronal, whichever you want to use, is somewhat bitter, it was still easier to take than the still present bromides, which I'm sure you kind of remember. Lithium bromide being one of the many, which would be phased out due to side effects. Lithium that's used today for bipolar disorder does not have the bromide attached, and its side effects are not as bad as they used to be, though there still are some side effects, as I'm sure many people who take lithium could tell you. Some do well on it, but that's with a lot of any kind of drug use for mental health.
Practically speaking, it's like it's a drug that's been in use for a long time. It feels like it should have been phased out, like the drug you're talking about, but it hasn't. It actually has therapeutic.
It's still the most used for bipolar disorder, but
that's fascinating.
Mental health is complicated.
Very.
And the chemistry involved is very complicated. So what works for some won't work for others. It's just a very complicated thing that you have to have patience with, and hopefully you figure out what works best for you. So
speaking of, I'll make this quick. This podcast I've been listening to, the two guys that escaped a fundamentalist religious cult. One of the guys mentioned when he left the cult and his family, he grew up, he was born into it. He was in the cult before.
That just seems like no fair.
Oh, it's sinister behavior. But
like you rolled a 1,
100
coming into the world.
Could not have said that any better. But actually, he's a 20 of a person.
Oh well, that's good
really
news.
fascinating. But anyway, the guy's name is John Collins, and the depression he went into after he left the cult, because leaving that cult means your entire identity is gone. He was intentionally and viciously shunned by his family, his friend group. He had no one except for his wife and his children. Yeah. And they were all on board. But he found, and he'd never drank alcohol. It was a fundamentalist cult. He actually found that alcohol in moderation actually decreased his depressive symptoms enough for him to get through that deep valley of depression. That was the result of turning his life upside down.
I don't know if you know this, but this sounds very familiar because you had never had alcohol until I introduced you to it.
Right.
Of course, you actually don't drink it much, but
so if you want to get into it,
yeah, because y'all didn't believe in.
Oh no!
But even though Jesus drank alcohol,
he certainly did,
and that's who y'all were.
100%. Yeah. No. They would in the splinter group that I grew up in, they would preach that the wine that Jesus turned the water into was grape juice.
But it literally says, do not get drunk off wine in the Bible.
It literally says it. Listen.
You can't get drunk off grape juice.
Well, this is going to be our other podcast.
Anyway, yeah, that was a wild tangent. My bad.
I brought it up because you say mental health is complex, the biochemical component. That was fascinating to me because he'd never had alcohol. And then he started drinking it just to hopefully deal with it was clinical depression because of what he was undertaking. But it helped him get through that season. And he did it only in moderation. He didn't, slip into alcoholism per se, but it really did help. And if you say that to anybody from the group that I grew up in or the group that he grew up in, they say all kinds of awful things. But the truth remains, it did help him. Yeah. And when you mention it, that is complex. It's sometimes you may need to just have a drink.
Or a cookie or whatever you need.
Or a cookie.
Life is hard.
Life can be hard, man.
Yeah. And if you don't, if you're someone who does not believe in alcohol, it's no hate. We just
live your life.
Live your life. Do what you want. You don't have to have alcohol to have fun or anything like that. Trust me. In my 20s, I drank way too much, mostly because that was my form of masking. I could not do social things without drinking at that time.
That's right. You had no idea that you may be autistic or have ADHD.
But now I have a much healthier way of going about things, and if I do drink, it's very much. In moderation, and it's only on special occasions usually. So
correct.
But
to the point of methanol.
We'll actually talk about ethanol because ethanol is in itself a poison.
True.
And can be used as such. And
I'm excited.
Yeah. Anyway, Veronal is what we're talking about. Now, it is odorless and colorless with only this slight bitter taste as its tell. And like I mentioned, it was a widely used sleep aid and was found in many a person's medicine cabinet. It was deemed safe and non-addictive, but this would prove untrue. The Russian Tsarina, Alexandra Fyodorovna, that's just fun to say.
This axe was a gift
I knew
to
you were
me
going to go there.
From the Tsarina of Tokyo.
Yes, thank you. Three Musketeers. Thank you.
I'm so glad we could experience that together.
Where is that America?
Movie? How do we know?
It's on Disney.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure it's Disney.
Oh, we got to pull it up, dude.
Yeah, the Three Musketeers.
3 duels in one day.
Yeah. Now, the Russian Tsarina Alexandra Fyodorovna once told a friend that she was literally saturated with it. So so it was used by all sorts, all classes.
Wow.
I say was because it has faded out of use, replaced by other barbiturates that are still dangerous if used improperly or are overprescribed. And I'm sure you've heard of your share of famous people who have died of an overdose of barbiturates because
100%.
they weren't necessarily, well, some might have died by suicide. Some might have, it was just an accidental overdose because they can happen very easily if you're not sure what you're taking or how to take it, or if you're mixing it with things like alcohol or things like that. So the safe effective dose was 10 to 15 grains, which is about 0.6 to 1 gram. It's like
You said grains?
half a gram to 1 gram. Yeah, grains is how it's an old timey word for how they used to measure out some medicine. Yeah,
I've never heard of that measurement.
Yeah, it might still be used in some medications. I know in nursing school we talked about grains, but it's not as common. We've heard of today. Yeah,
all right.
You don't use it as commonly today. A deadly dose would have been between 55 to 68 grains, which would be about 3.5 to 4.4 grams. So it's, more of a low dose type medication, or it was. While the therapeutic dose seems far from the toxic one, it was easy to become dependent on the drug and to develop tolerance to it. So this would often lead to accidental overdose for those taking it for an extended period of time, because they would basically, their bodies would get tolerant of that. They wouldn't be able to fall asleep as well, so they would just keep taking more and more and more.
Yikes.
Yeah. It was also used as a drug for suicide. Many well-known actors, writers, musicians, scientists of the past have used it to end their own lives, and also some Jewish residents of German cities who feared being sent to the concentration camps during World War II died by suicide with the help of Veronal.
Mercy.
Basically, it was common, easy to come by, and effective for both sleep and, well, death. It also acts quite quickly, causing one to fall asleep within half an hour to 1 hour, and its excretion from the body through the urine is rather slow. Some effects of Veronal would have been nausea, drowsiness, dizziness, fainting, coordination issues, kind of what you'd expect from a sleeping aid, really. Even the slightest overdose can lead to hypotension, so you got low blood pressure, shallow breathing, respiratory distress, coma, and death. Right. It was, which is, makes sense. Respiratory distress, you see that with an overdose of barbiturates or opioids or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was a cure for insomnia in many growing parts of the world. And I actually read about a lot of overdoses in New Zealand, as well as throughout America and in Europe. Now, according to the New Zealand Drug Foundation's website, Veronal was added to the prohibited poisons list alongside morphine and cocaine in 1930 because of the high amount of death associated with it. In 1935, the Poisons Act was enforced, which made it so that Veronal could only be obtained with a prescription.
You said the Poison Act in 1935?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm sure this may not have been the only medicine they did this with, because it would have just been called the Veronal Act or something.
I'm just fascinated there was a piece of legislation called the Poison. I mean, that must have included a bunch of different substances.
Yeah, I think there were other poison acts or poison laws put into place that I remember reading about, but I don't remember exactly where or when at this point.
Oh, man.
So that's not the only time this has happened or the only place. Now, a few weeks before this, an Australian resident and musician of Auckland named Eric Moreo killed his wife Thelma by giving her an overdose of Veronal and some milk. They were habitual users by this point, but this was said to be intentional murder with the motive of his wife. His wife had been sleeping with other women, so she'd been sleeping around. So jealousy, so unfaithful,
unfortunate,
and he was jealous.
Said Auckland, it's New Zealand.
Also financial difficulties. He was tried and convicted and sentenced to death, but he actually served 12 years in prison, and he died in 1958. So, another famous case involving Veronal took place in Paris, France, where this year's Olympics have been taking place. Maybe we should do an episode on the Seine River.
Ooh.
That would include more like bacteria and stuff, though.
Okay.
I'm interested to see if any of them get sick from swimming in that river.
They're holding events in that water?
Oh, they were swimming in it.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes.
I saw a little bit of chatter about the money they spent to clean it up.
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
That's like doing Olympic events in the Hudson River in New York. Like everybody in New York City is like, yeah, don't get in that water.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm down for that. I'd love to know.
We could always do an episode on the big stink, the Thames,
Oh, that's enough. Oh boy.
which wouldn't be poisons, but I mean,
Is there
still
a
toxic.
is there a major waterway in a major city in the world that was not ruined by the Industrial Revolution?
Probably not. I mean, in America, you didn't have the EPA until the 70s. Is that
No.
right? So,
It was the Nixon administration
yeah.
when that was created.
So we didn't have a whole lot of regulations going on. Anyway, as you remember with the radium talk, they're still cleaning up lots of different stuff, and they're still cleaning up lots of different areas of pollution.
Yeah.
From years ago.
Yeah.
So now here in Paris, France, on August 21st, 1933, specifically at 9 Rue de Madagascar. I don't know how they say Madagascar, but that's how I say Madagascar.
Rude.
Rude.
Yeah.
It's Rue de Madagascar. Yes. Okay, so
well played.
Here there was a man and a woman that were found unconscious after their daughter, 18-year-old Violette Noziere, had woken a neighbor in the apartment building to help. She later said that she had been staying with friends the last few days and came home to find her parents unconscious and with the gas turned on in the apartment. And as you know, this is not a carbon monoxide episode, so...
Yeah, they haven't figured that part out yet.
Here we go. But yeah, that's not what they died from, so let's carry on from that. So the neighbor she had awoken, Monsieur Mael, was very aware of the gas smell and turned it off before opening the windows and indeed finding Jean-Baptiste and Germaine Noziere lying lifeless on their bed. When medics arrived, it was found that Germaine was still alive. They were able to see her breath, see that she was still breathing. So she was actually sent to the hospital while Jean-Baptiste was definitely dead. Violette had been rambling about her parents' money problems, as she called it, but the rumors that had started going around seemed more centered on her and her less than respectable, quote-unquote, lifestyle.
Okay.
Now, her father was actually a locomotive, that's just fun to say, locomotive engineer.
Francisco.
Locomotive engineer, and they lived pretty modestly. This apartment building was 6 floors high and about 40 families lived in the building. So word got around pretty quick. There's a lot of people living in these places. These were like 2-room apartments, basically. Now, Violet...
Sardines in a can.
Basically. Violet had been rather difficult to manage as a child. She had done poorly in school and was always in trouble. She had also apparently been asking her parents for money a lot recently as she wanted a more comfortable life while also spending her time with some really shady people. They had therefore been fighting a good bit, and she was seeing different men. She had been seeing different men from a very young age, like 12 and 13 years old, and she would leave home, declaring her need for independence, only to come back for help each time. And I'm not saying any of this to judge her or have you judge her, but her behavior before and after does matter and play a role in the investigation that took place. She was definitely a person of interest once it was found out that her mother was suffering from a large overdose, more than the lethal dose actually, of Veronal, and not from the gas or the carbon monoxide inhalation as it was made to seem. She nor the husband would have even been able to turn the gas on, as sedated as they would have been from this drug. It had looked like a double suicide and was treated as such before this was discovered. If her mother had died, it would still have been treated as such. But they did an autopsy on Jean-Baptiste Noziere and found that he had died of a Veronal overdose himself. So now that it was being looked at as suspicious, they sought out Violet, excuse me. There's 2 T's in this name. Violet.
Oh, okay.
Who had disappeared after her parents had been taken away. The man put in charge of the investigation was actually Inspector Marcel. Sorry. Marcel Guillaume.
How do you spell it?
Marcel.
Oh, it is Marcel.
Yeah.
Guillaume. Yes. Marcel.
Have you been to France?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm just pretending.
Wow. Inspector Marcel Guillaume. who was well known and highly respected. He was actually the inspiration for the famous fictional detective Inspector Maigret, created by author Georges Simenon, who was in fact friends with Guillaume. Forgive me if I'm butchering these names. I myself have never been to France either. Something else that was suspicious in this case was the fact that the table still had dishes and food from supper on it, and from that night, and it was set for 3 people, not 2. So Violette said she had been staying with friends the last 2 days. So who had been there? Why were there 3? The concierge had told investigators that no one, not even Violette, had come or gone the night before, around dinner time, or before 10 p.m. That was when he went inside. The neighbors stated that they had not heard or seen the Nozières the day before at all. And the neighbors could not give any motive for suicide either, except maybe for the stress of their daughter. According to them, not me. I didn't say, they said that, not me. I know what you're thinking. Are there any fingerprints at the scene? They checked the dishes and the wine glasses at the scene, and while they found Madame and Monsieur Nozières' fingerprints on their glasses, the prints on the third were too smudged to be identified.
Okay.
They did find a note from a Dr. Doran instructing the pair to take some powders that he had enclosed. When asked about the note later, though, Dr. Doran, who had never met them, stated that it was a forgery and he knew nothing about the matter. He was, however, treating their daughter Violette for anemia.
Okay.
Now, checking on Violette's alibi, they were able to talk to the friend she had been with the night before, and she claimed that she had indeed been with her the whole time because she had borrowed money from her while out partying. She was also able to tell them that Violette had been out to lunch with another friend and on a drive with some students that she had met. I mentioned the difficulties that the Nozières had been having with their daughter in the past, but something else that was singular was the fact that there had been some accidents just recently that were suspicious as well. 2 months before, there had been the leaking gas jet in the apartment. Their bedroom curtains had once mysteriously caught fire. They had also been overtaken with pain and illness after eating a few times before. So, they'd had it rough for a few months. Things were just happening. Weird things were just happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just for context, Monsieur Nozière had about 180,000 francs in the bank that would go to Violette upon his demise.
Yeah. Motive.
Am I saying it right? Francs? Is it Francs?
Yeah, I think it's Francs.
Because I'm thinking franc from...
Yeah.
So many francs.
This is what I just.
180,000 francs, excuse me. Now I'm thinking of my grandfather who was named Frank.
Yeah.
They had also found love letters addressed to Violette in a drawer and were able to track this dude down. He was out of town at the time, but came back to be questioned about the matter. And he told police that he was a law student in a relationship with Violette, but that she was also seeing other men for money and helping him pay for things because his own allowance from his parents had been decreased. What the heck?
You're in law school?
Oh, okay. Anyway, he also told police that her parents did not like him and forbade Violette from seeing him further, but that he had promised to marry her and had her move into his studio in town. So.
Okay. At the age of 13.
Well, no, she's 18 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he had not seen her for a week, but did tell police that she had written him a letter saying she had come into an inheritance and was going to buy a car to come get him.
Oh my God. What a way to say that.
Guess what? So, yeah.
Oh, man.
So, the local news, as you can imagine, was wild for this story, and Violette's image would only suffer from it, as you can imagine. So they are searching for Violette, who is looking rather suspicious at this point, when Madame Germaine Nozière wakes up from her coma and is able to tell police what happened. She told them that Violette had convinced her and her husband to put the powders that she said were from Dr. Doran into their wine glasses after supper. Violette had claimed that the powder was a treatment for headaches. And when she and her husband became overwhelmed with drowsiness and dizziness, Violette said she had called the doctor back, who had told her to give them some baking soda. So she semi-forced that down their throats, but instead of it being baking soda, it was actually more Veronal.
Okay. Well,
Now, investigators thought this had all happened the night before, which was confusing them because while Violette had been suspicious, she had an alibi with her friend and other witnesses. Now, so just to clarify, so this is like Monday, they find them. They're thinking like, oh, she was out Monday night with some friends, so she couldn't have been there or whatever.
she did have the alibi.
She had the alibi for Monday night.
Okay.
Now, the whole plot was actually carried out Sunday evening, though, and the Noziers had laid there poisoned for over 30 hours before being discovered. Okay. During that time after the poisoning, she went shopping and partying with her friends. She then returned to the apartment and acted like the concerned daughter. So she'd actually poisoned them on Sunday. That's why the third set of dishes was there. She was there with them Sunday.
Ate with them on Sunday. Right.
And then went out, hung out with her friends, and then that night acted like, oh no, something's happened. So that's yeah. So they were like trying to find out what happened Monday when actually it had been happening Sunday. All right.
Could they accurately assess time of death at that point?
Well, he might not have died until Monday. The poison, I mean, he was still poisoned, but I don't, he might have died on Monday. It just depends on how fast acting the poison was for him.
Yeah, but they weren't assessing liver temperature or whatever.
I'm not sure if they did that or not. But even if they did, like I said, he could have died Monday and they still wouldn't have known when she actually poisoned them.
Correct. Okay.
So now, Madame Nozier had also said that there should have been about 3,000 francs in the dresser and another 1,000 in the hem of a dress. I'm not sure. I guess that's something that they did to hide money back then.
Wow.
And all of this was missing. Imagine going to a store and be like, "Oh, hang on, I've got cash. Let me get it out of the hem of my dress. Let me just unhem my dress real quick."
Is this why women want pockets in every one of their outfits?
Pockets more. Thank you very freaking much. I think maybe that's why like men are afraid of women having pockets. They just know that we'll carry around poisons everywhere.
I mean, the next
witchcraft. Don't give them pockets.
First they start reading and then thinking.
Oh, God. We should as a form of protest, we should just stop giving men pockets. See how they like it.
Well,
like just cut it off. I'm like, oh, well, you can buy a purse.
Yeah.
Why don't you just buy a purse?
Just buy a purse, bro.
Do you have something against purses? Huh? Do you? Do you?
This reminds me of that Friends episode where Matt LeBlanc Joey carries the purse into an audition.
Yeah.
And the director goes, "Yeah, that's good, Joe. Just lose the purse." He's like, "No, it's a satchel." He's like, "Okay, lose the purse."
Messenger bag. I actually think it's quite charming if there's like a dude walking around and he has like a messenger bag with all of his like writing utensils and such. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking of like old.
That makes perfect sense in 1945.
I guess, but I mean,
his typewriter.
Maybe I'm a
satchel.
Maybe I'm a 1945 man at heart. Okay, this would have been how she did all that partying if she would have stolen the basically 4,000 francs from the apartment. Not long after this, on August 29th, after Madame Nozier came out of her coma, the police received a tip from a man who had claimed he had a date with a girl who was going by the name Christiane Darfel. He strongly suspected it was actually Violette, whom the police had been searching for because of her looks and manner. Now, remember, she's been all over like the news and stuff. People are looking for her, actively looking for her. And they, they're all like, "Oh, she's so fashionable, but she killed people. Oh, we need to like find her."
I wish her well.
Yeah, like she was quite iconic, but also a murderer. Now, yeah.
So then I said, "My name's Christiane," like a liar.
Yeah. Now, police showed up to the place in time of the date, and they arrested Violette. She was all dressed up in a new outfit, and very chic black new outfit, and very unconcerned about her parents. So, when interrogated, however, she confessed to poisoning her parents, stating that she had only meant to kill her father and had given him more poison than her mother. She claimed that her father had sexually abused her since the age of 12, and that she was pregnant by him. She was not pregnant. and there was not any proof to her claims of abuse. In fact, she had been caught in a few lies when it came to where and when this abuse would have taken place. Not saying that she was never abused. I don't know, but there just wasn't any evidence, and it was really hard to trust the things that she was saying because she actually lied quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So, and her mother actually filed suit against her for slandering the dead. That's interesting. I guess you can do that then. Can you do that? Can you do that now? I don't know if you can do that now. Slandering the dead.
It's fascinating.
That sounds wicked. I like it.
Is that a metal band?
Slandering the dead.
Corpse slander.
S2D. Oh no. No, I did not.
Oh man.
Those thinking of this band name, think it through.
Patreon link in the show notes. Oh man. What's the first single from their first album called for Slandering the Dead?
Chlamydia. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Okay.
That was fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Anyway, she also said she had not stolen the 3,000 francs from the dresser and that it had been given to her by a professor. So, oh no, it's given me. I don't know. So she'd been caught in quite a few lies. Right. So that was why it was really hard to believe any of what she was saying. She was brought to trial and her mother ended up pleading for mercy for her daughter, despite what she had done. I guess she kind of started feeling like, oh no.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Still,
she was aware that she poisoned both of them.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, I don't know. Like it's her kid, and I guess she's just, because back then it was like she's gonna be hanged or something. I don't know. Like she's probably thinking like her daughter's gonna be killed. Do I really want her dead? You know, there's a lot going on probably in her mind. So yeah, she was found guilty of murder on October 13th, 1934, and she was sentenced to die by the guillotine. However,
how French.
However, this was more symbolic because women were no longer sentenced to die by guillotine since Jean Thomas back in 1887, who had to be like dragged by the hair because she became so frantic, apparently became like, oh, this probably isn't the greatest idea to do this. So also public executions.
Bro, it's
ew, what the heck?
Okay. So gruesome.
And like, you can't really say like, oh, kids watch such terrible things today. It's like, y'all literally used to watch people get hanged and their heads cut off. So
everybody in the town would show up for executions.
That's just,
it was very
gross. That's just,
it's nothing but a power move. Like you don't have to.
And like, I don't know. It's just, when I think about the horrors of humanity, hey, there's a good band name. Horrors of Humanity. HOH. Oh, okay. So, because this was symbolic, this was commuted to life in prison.
Their first single is called "Let Them Eat Cake."
Oh my God! Which she actually didn't say.
Oh come on, let's do it for the content.
Okay, we know who we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. So, she was actually released after 12 years. She was released in 1945. After her release, she married, had 5 kids. Found religion, and had her mother come live with her in her old age. And her mother actually outlived her by a few years. So turned her life around, I guess.
I am completely shocked. Somebody that is that sociopathic and willing to commit murder.
The Veronal vibes aren't good. So yeah. So there's a nice story about Veronal. Now, we're going to talk about Visine.
You mean, did you say Visine?
Visine.
Oh, the eye drops.
Yeah.
Man, let's do this.
Get the red out.
Is this a different chemical formula than Clear Eyes?
Not if it has the same chemical in it. If it's getting the red out, it has this chemical in it.
Clear Eyes.
Yeah, it's going to be Now artificial tears wouldn't have this. It's strictly. I'm gonna go over it. Okay.
Wow.
Let me just go over it. Our next story involves a chemical found in Visine and other eye drops. It's called tetrahydrozoline, THC, if you will.
Say that again.
Tetrahydrozoline.
No, what did you abbreviate it as?
THZ.
THZ.
I know what you're thinking. Not THC. THZ.
I'm with you.
Like zebra.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say over there, right? In Europe. Zebra.
Yes.
We say zebra. Zebra. I know. What if you had a zebra named Deborah? All right. Sorry. I know that's a mouthful, but I'm going to explain what it basically is.
Zebra.
Zebra named. Okay. THZ. I'm just going to call it tetrahydrozoline so that no one confuses it with THC.
Okay.
Now, tetrahydrozoline is a decongestant that relieves redness in the eyes that is caused by minor eye irritation. It works by temporarily narrowing the blood vessels. A few drops in the eyes occasionally is typically safe, as long as you don't have like allergies, to whatever's in there. But poisoning occurs when this chemical is taken orally. Note, please store your Visine and other eye drops, any medication, away from children,
Oh, 100%.
over the counter or not. Just don't put it high away, because if they squirt this into their mouth, and the top has like a childproof, but I don't always trust those things. So
yeah,
keep them away from kids.
We warned our audience, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let the record show.
Because, this chemical is likely present in those eye drops, especially if they have the whole get the red out sort of, thing on there. Now, symptoms upon ingesting tetrahydrozoline include altered mental status, confusion, difficulty breathing, blurred vision, cyanosis, which is the bluing of the lips and the fingertips. That rhymes. Fingertips and lips. Nausea and vomiting, weakness, low body temperature, significant blood pressure changes, headache, irritability, tachycardia, or bradycardia. So you basically either have a high or a low heart rate. Pupil changes, your eyes, which is ironic because anyway. Tremors, seizures, coma, and death. So, yeah. If able to get treatment in time, it would involve activated charcoal, as you know, administration.
I'm just going to get a bag of charcoal.
Activated
just
charcoal.
In case.
Okay. Just shove it down somebody's throat.
That's right.
Also, airway support. Oh my God. Airway support, oxygen or intubation, multiple blood tests, scans, ECGs, etc. Fluids, laxatives, and other meds to treat symptoms and try to expel the poison faster, basically. Now, survival after 24 hours is a good sign, but there may be some lasting complications. And who knew Visine could be so vicious?
That's crazy.
A case of poisoning involving tetrahydrozoline occurred not too far from here, actually. Not too far from us, I should say. In Lake Wylie, South Carolina.
All right.
Lana. I'm going with Lana. Yeah. And Steve Clayton had married in 2013, 3 years after meeting online in 2010. Be careful with your dating habits, people, because people.
Immediate. That's the second red flag. I don't trust anyone.
Crazy.
Yes. I can't really immediately trust anyone from a place called Lake Wylie. So that's just me.
I'm not a fan of lakes. At least not around here, because I have a big fear of the whole brain-eating amoeba thing, and they thrive in warm waters, such as warm lakes and ponds and stuff. So not into it. Now, if it was a colder lake, maybe I'd be okay with it, but not here. Not into it. Also, we live close to Lake Lanier, right? So, nope, it's a no for me. Don't go swimming in Lake Lanier.
Hard pass.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Stop it.
Stop. They're building a water park on Lake Lanier.
I am made of questions.
And I'm not super superstitious, but I'm just don't try it. Don't be I'm going to go test it. I'm going to go test it.
You're supposed to say, I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious.
Yeah. I've already done that once, though. And I feel I don't want to overdo it,
I thought it was worth.
Overdo it.
Another go.
But don't do that.
Okay.
Ugh. Okay. Anyway. Now, Lana was a nurse and Steve was an accountant who had opened a successful physical therapy business back in the day.
You don't say.
Back in the 1980s, which was known for treating sports injuries. This dude made millions doing this.
Oh.
And retired at 40.
Oh, okay.
Fully. He was a millionaire.
Well, I wasn't expecting to want to be like this guy, but here we go.
You're a physical therapist. You should just become an accountant and then open up physical therapist businesses.
Right.
Anyway, but that's cool. They were living the life in this waterfront home designed to look like Washington's Mount Vernon estate. So
really?
It was, for some reason, it was just made to look like that.
All right, go on.
Whatever.
King.
Okay. And they had been married for like 5 years when tragedy struck. On July 21st, 2018, Lana was coming inside from mowing the grass when she found 64-year-old Steve at the foot of the stairs unconscious. She was a bit younger. I don't know. I can't remember how much younger, but she was pretty sure she was significantly younger. That or she had really great skin.
Okay.
Anyway, she apparently panicked and went to look for help, finding it in a neighbor that they knew who was driving by on his motorcycle. After flagging him down, she asked him to call 911 and told him about her husband's situation. While he was on the phone with the dispatcher, Lana ran across the street to another neighbor's house and banged on the door. Terry Floyd, who was a close friend of Lana's and Steve's, answered, and when Lana told him about Steve, they rode Terry's golf cart back to her house. Golf carts are huge around here. I don't know if that's everywhere, but in the South, people love their golf carts.
As a person of significant caucasity, what I've noticed is the level 40 existence as a white person is driving your golf cart everywhere. You may live in a neighborhood where the homes cost $600,000 and you will have a golf cart.
I think that's just an inefficient use of money, personally. Unless you have like a lot of land, like a huge bit of land that you just need to like ride.
You need to get around.
Yeah,
but it serves no practical purpose. These people are taking these golf carts to the grocery store.
Yeah, they'll take them through the McDonald's parking lot here.
Bro.
Or like there'll be like middle schoolers riding them up the road. I'm like, is that legal?
Children,
I don't think it's legal.
I see them on there holding babies.
Because they'll pick up their kids from the elementary school on the on the golf
all
carts.
It takes is one mistake from another driver in a car.
Yeah,
it doesn't even have to be a big car, and it will kill everybody. But it is just it's the most, as a white person, I do not understand. Stop it, white people. Stop it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't get the golf cart thing either. But
it's too much, man. Like, y'all pay so much money to live in these neighborhoods, and then you want to drive around the place. You got a car. You got 2 cars in that garage.
Adam's really angry about this.
It's hysterical. I'm like, y'all got that wreck money.
Yeah, I grew up on the poor end, so I've never really cared about a golf cart.
Of course you had. Well, you don't want to leave that anyway.
I had a Power Wheels once.
Well,
when I was a kid. So that was huge for us. Anyway, moving on. Golf carts. So they took the golf cart back to Lana and Steve's house.
Let me ask this. Why didn't she pick up the phone and call EMS? Oh, you're going to get to that? Okay.
Well, she's a nurse. Why didn't she do CPR?
Did Steve light up a room when he walked into it?
Anyway, so Lana apparently sat on the stairs outside while Terry went in to check for a pulse, which she did not find. Like, she's a nurse, and she's not like, it doesn't seem like she's doing anything to help.
She did.
So they don't have a phone in that big freaking mansion somewhere?
No.
Where's her cell phone?
She's faking distress.
So, yeah. After the police arrived and it had been confirmed that Steve was deceased, Lana was distraught and told them that he must have fallen down the stairs while she was outside. He had apparently been having dizziness and nausea the last 3 days and was bedridden because of it. I think he had like a bit of vertigo anyway, like before all this. But so, I mean, it was convenient for her to use. And Lana said she had checked on him before getting to the yard work and he was asleep. So she left his medications and some water next to his bed. The coroner came and predicted the cause of death as a heart attack because there weren't signs of a fall, like bruising or there being like a huge mess on the stairs or lacerations on him or anything like that. Like, you can usually kind of tell when there's been a traumatic sort of fall like that. And
wait, did he die in the bed?
We're getting there.
Okay.
Will you let me
Sorry,
talk?
I'm ruined.
Oh my God. Do you do this when you're reading? Like, is that why you make all them noises when you're reading? Like, like, have some patience. God. So yeah.
Y'all, she just took a swing at me with that. That's so funny.
But
I'll be reading books she recommended to me, and then when something amazing or cool happens, I go, "No way!" And I'll laugh at something somebody said, and she'll be like, "What?"
Yeah, because I'm tired at that point. I want to go to bed. You're just over here like freaking out over something. Anyway, so at the scene, everyone believed this was an accident.
Sorry, I'm annoying you with my friendship.
I don't have many friends.
Always not. Shut up. You have more friends than I do.
Well, yeah, at this point I do. You're right. I'm actually finding new friends.
Okay.
Oh, how the turntable. We're getting all over the place. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone.
Back to barbital.
No, we're not talking about we're talking about Visine.
I'm kidding. I know.
Anyway,
Back to THC.
even though THC, even though there weren't signs of a fall, everyone at the scene believed this was an accident or a natural death. Okay. Then Stephen's nephew, Nick French, who I don't know if he was French, don't ask me that. His last name was French.
Okay.
Who was also an experienced cop from a nearby town, heard about the situation and came by to check things out. Now, he was immediately suspicious because Steve's phone was missing, and he apparently always had his phone on him, which I'm kind of jealous of that because I constantly lose my phone. My phone is always somewhere else.
You left it here today when you
I know.
took our daughter to school.
I don't even care.
I saw it on the counter. I was like, she'll be back.
So I am not like this man. He also took note of Lana's reaction when the coroner brought up funeral arrangements. At first, she said she wasn't sure, but when the coroner offered to take her deceased husband to the morgue to run some tests, which the nephew Nick encouraged.
Dude, Nick is hip to it, dude. I like him.
She came up with a different idea. She wanted him cremated at the funeral home down the street. Like all of a sudden, she's like, "No, let's just have him cremated down the road."
I love it.
Basically,
I love it. Like, Nick is like, "You did it, didn't you?"
Honestly, like she's like, I feel not all nurses are smart. Not all doctors are smart. You're gonna meet a doctor in just a little bit that is also.
Not all physical therapists are smart. Can confirm.
You can have a degree and be dumb. Boy. Okay, I just feel like if you're confident enough to take someone else's life, I would think that you would seem smarter than this. I mean, I'm glad they're not because, Because
then we can discover their crimes, of course.
I'm glad they're not that smart. But anyway, here we go. Yeah, she wanted him cremated, and Nick did a walkthrough of the house and found Steve's bed upstairs in pretty rough shape. It was soaked with urine, and it was obvious that Steve had been unable to get out of bed for days. He had also not been texting or calling family back for the last 3 days. Remember, his phone was missing.
Wait, he was conscious, but he could not get out of the bed.
Yeah, I don't know how conscious, but yeah, he was alive. I mean, for those last 3 days, but he couldn't get out of bed. He was urinating in his bed. No one was helping him, basically.
Crazy.
When another nephew of Steve's, Chris Fagan, came to the scene, he advised Lana to look to Steve's will to find out if he wanted to be buried or cremated. She immediately got defensive and claimed there was no will.
She lying?
When there's not a will, there's not a way. Ugh. When Chris told her that he knew there was one because he had seen it, she doubled down and said there was no will, then walked away. Like, just walked back in the house. It was like, leave me alone. She then would start telling these stories that his family could not believe. She started saying that he was abusing drugs and she was basically laughing about it. Like, ha ha ha, yeah, he was just on drugs all the time. And none of them had ever known him to be on drugs or ever to be high, like, at all. And they spent time with him.
Yeah.
They also believed that the marriage was going well up until recently.
Up until she killed him.
Well, yeah. There was a veterinarian that would make house calls to see their dogs. Like, this is how rich these people were. They're just like, come see.
Hey, man, you can't hide money.
No, but this veterinarian claims that was a lie because he said that she would rarely even talk to him when they were in the same room and seemed very distant, if anything.
Whoops.
He even was like, I don't know why they got married. Like, the veterinarian is over here, like, spilling tea.
That's right.
Just like, yeah.
Oh, man.
The dogs were happier, y'all.
Yikes.
So also there was a time that Lana, okay.
Okay. You just dropped your head and started rubbing the bridge of your nose. This is going to be good.
There's also this time that Lana shot Steve in the head with a crossbow while he was asleep.
Rebecca.
Now somehow everyone came to the conclusion that this was an accident.
Did I just hear what I think I heard?
Crossbow.
She shot him in the head with a crossbow?
Yes. She Skyrimmed his behind. Okay. Actually, are there crossbows in Skyrim? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
I haven't played that game in a while.
That's hysterical.
Shot him in the head with a crossbow while he was asleep, and he lived. Thankfully, the injury had been minor, but everyone was like, "Oh, it was just an accident. It's fine." Yeah. Now,
what in the world?
Chris, the other nephew, had also come out and said that his uncle had told him a few months prior to his death that he was not happy in his marriage. So there's that.
Oh, the cop nephew?
No, this is Chris. This is the other nephew.
Oh.
Yep.
Was
Nick.
it the brother of Nick?
Maybe. I'm not sure if they were cousins or brothers. I know they were both nephews, but Nick is the cop.
Nephew.
Now, the day after Steve's death, nephew Chris called because he and his wife were going to help Lana find the will. She told him that they were not welcome over there and that she would handle everything. Okay. Obviously, suspicion was growing within Steve's family, and they called the coroner to request an autopsy. Instead of just cremating him, like she wanted. Now, the autopsy showed that they agreed, and the autopsy showed that he had been healthy with no heart problems, so it was not a heart attack that had killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And toxicology tests did reveal something. There were no illicit drugs in his system, like she had claimed there might be, but they did find tetrahydrozoline.
THZ?
Oh my gosh. And they were able to determine that this was his cause of death. That was poisoning. He had 68 nanograms per mil within the sample taken, which is a lot, apparently.
Okay.
Now, it needed to be determined if Steve had taken the poison himself or if it had been given to him. So they call Lana, the widow, in to be questioned, and she immediately recognizes the chemical and is like, oh yeah, from his Visine. And I know she's a nurse and all. I'm a nurse, and you could have mentioned this chemical before this whole case was a thing, and I'd have been like, what the heck is that? Like, it's not like a comment. Like, we're not taught in nursing school, like, oh, watch out for that Visine. Don't, tetrahydrozoline. It'll get you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not.
Yeah, she's not thought this through.
It's just not something I know you shouldn't go about guzzling Visine, but just because I'm a nurse doesn't mean I know that chemical makeup of eye drops is like off the top of my head. I don't just know that.
No.
It's just very specific and very odd.
Extremely.
Anyway, she tried to explain the presence of this chemical away by saying someone told her husband that a few drops of Visine in his coffee every morning would help with occasional constipation.
Jesus Christ.
So he'd been doing that for years now. Don't do that. Don't put Visine goes in your eyes. I'm just saying. Just don't drink it. Stop drinking Visine.
This episode brought to you by Visine.
Sorry.
At this point, we'd like to mention our sponsor for today's podcast.
I'm not saying it won't get the red out of your eyes. I'm just saying don't drink it.
Don't ingest it. The route of administration for a medication is very important.
Your eyes are different from your mouth.
That's right.
Okay. And I'm sure most people are like, duh, but there are some people that need to hear that.
Mm-hmm. We distinguish if something is sub-Q or oral or topical. That's a big distinction. Huge. Because it affects how a compound or a medication is absorbed into your system.
I could tell you so many stories about so many mishaps that ended terribly because somebody took an oral drug and put it intravenously.
You've told me many of those stories.
I'm not here to do that.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Now, the truth is that...
Back to barbitol.
No, this is not barbitol.
Just kidding. I know.
The truth is that Lana had learned that they had done an autopsy and knew they were going to find that specific chemical there. She then went down a different path and started saying that Steve was verbally abusive, though the rest of his family never saw any evidence of that going on. So she's just kind of coming up with stuff as time goes. I'm not saying it never did happen. I'm just saying it's not for certain. And like, she's just sort of saying all this stuff after the fact now. She did say that she did not think a bit of Visine taken orally would be life-threatening, but she stated that she had not given it to him or made his coffee for him.
The lemonade is killing people.
Remember, the last few days, he couldn't even get out of bed, and they were the only two people in the house. So who's,
Even
anyway,
the cop knows.
Yeah.
Nick knows.
Nick's like, what? Anyway, she said she knew.
It's like an episode of Young and the Restless.
A lot of these cases kind of like that. I wonder if they get their inspiration for some of these. So she said she knew that they were suspicious of her, but that she didn't kill her husband. She's like, I didn't do it. Okay.
It's like that guy, that pastor whose wife suspiciously died. Are you asking me if somebody may have killed my wife?
Oh my gosh, that guy. I'm sorry. I cannot. I will get angry if I start talking about him.
Okay.
Yeah. So she declined to do any more interviews after that. She was like, I'm done. And she went home.
I'm done. I'm going to look for his will. I mean, I'm not.
Apparently, investigators followed her home and she started talking to them again there while the conversation was still being recorded. And somehow along the ride, like her story completely changes because she starts talking about how she had set him this little table up next to his bed. And like she had some tissues, his urinal, some medications, and his Visine. Then she just said, yeah, because he couldn't get out of bed, I guess, from the dizziness. I don't know. Look.
Okay.
She said she just got so angry that she picked the Visine up and just squeezed it in. She squeezed the whole bottle of Visine into his water. She's like, I just got so mad. She's just saying all this. The amount of tetrahydrozoline.
Put your hands on the car.
Yeah. The amount of that substance would have shut down his breathing. Pretty much so.
Yeah.
She went on to say that she just wanted him to suffer. Not so much die, but suffer. She claims that she lost it because of how demanding he was, then started saying that he was physically abusive, which again, there was no evidence for that. Investigators believe the real motive was money, as he had millions of dollars. She had actually talked him into leaving North Carolina for the mansion in South Carolina a few years back. So they lived in North Carolina, and she talked him into going to South Carolina. But it's probably because in South Carolina, if you die without a will, the money and all of that goes to the next of kin automatically.
Shut the
so
front
it would go
door.
directly to her.
She literally was planning this. Oh my gosh.
Now, a will was never found, though Chris, the nephew, knew it existed, but neighbors did see Lana burning something in her backyard the day after Steve's death.
What?
Yeah.
Why would you burn it?
Sorry.
You are dumb. You are so dumb.
Investigators believe Lana brought him down with a smaller dose of Visine, then gave him bigger doses over the course of those 3 days. He would not have been able to call for help because, remember, his phone was missing. She likely took it,
Yeah.
She was arrested August 31st, 2018, and charged with murder. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Now, this was not the only Visine murder.
Okay.
Only 3 weeks after Lana's arrest, and only 12 miles away, mind you, Stacy Hunsucker, preschool teacher and mother of 2 young children, she was found dead by her husband, Joshua Hunsucker, who was an EMT.
Oh, okay. Okay, hang on. Stacy is the victim.
Yes.
Okay.
She was the preschool teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. 32 years old. Stacy's death was originally ruled as a heart attack. She'd had a pacemaker and actually had some heart troubles before. But her mother was suspicious. Wow. I mean, same. Because only 2 days after her death, Joshy Boy was filing for the $250,000 life insurance money and moving on with a new girlfriend.
Okay.
Also, who the heck is going to be like, dude's wife just mysteriously died and he's got some new money now? Let's do this? Like, that doesn't...
Oh, yikes, dude. He's an EMT?
Yes.
He did it.
Anyway. Now, the babysitter told police that he never seemed sad about Stacy's death and was also dating a coworker named Jennifer Elkins. Also, dude had her cremated, like, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
Immediately. But anyway, it turns out that Stacy was an organ donor. And a blood sample was kept and tested where they found tetrahydrozoline.
Dude.
So they were able to determine that that was what killed her. So Josh...
So even if you cremate somebody, but they are an organ donor, there will still be evidence of...
Yeah, they can keep...
What?
They can keep that, yeah.
What?
Blood sample.
Okay. Now, there's no connection between Lana and Josh, is there?
No.
Okay.
No.
They're geographically very close. And the timelines are very close.
This could be like a copycat. Maybe he heard about it and was like, I'm going to try that, even though she got... Anyway.
Jeez, man.
Anyway.
Nothing but psycho healthcare workers right now.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
So, anyway... Now, he had also... Let's see. He was arrested on December 19th, 2019 and charged with murder. Now, he had also apparently told coworkers once that if he ever killed anyone, it would be with eye drops. Now, this case gets weirder.
What an idiot.
This case gets weirder. He made his $1.5 million bond. I don't know how. Then went on to intimidate and harass his in-laws and even staged his own kidnapping, trying to accuse them of it and the crime. Then he attempted to poison his 10-year-old with Visine.
Rebecca.
Like he had his wife.
What is going on?
He also used this drug for depression. Let's see, desmethylvenlafaxine. I think I've heard of venlafaxine. I don't know if that's just what they call it now. But the child did survive, but had to be hospitalized for a bit.
That is awful.
He apparently did all this with an ankle monitor on, mind you, to try to pin his late wife's murder on the in-laws. How do you fake being kidnapped if you've got an ankle monitor on?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Again, he's too stupid to be a good criminal.
So his bond was revoked, and on August 6th, 2024, he was arrested and charged. Oh, that was this year.
Oh my gosh.
That was like last week.
Holy cow. Wow.
So this is very recent.
Dude.
His bond was revoked, and on August 6th, 2024, he was arrested and charged with 4 counts of obstruction of justice and 4 counts of intimidating a witness. This case is ongoing, as you can imagine, and the next court date is scheduled for December 26th of this year. So,
Merry Christmas, Josh.
And still, I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to be doing just this last story because I also have a whole nother medication to cover, and we can just do that next week along with some other stuff.
Okay.
Because I don't want, I got excited with these notes. Okay, I wrote 6,000 words for these notes.
How many pages?
I don't even know. I didn't try to print it, so I don't know.
Wow.
But I got a little excited.
I'm telling you guys, Becca is an incredible researcher. So
if I could just, maybe keep it shorter.
Well, you love doing it. You're so excited. Yeah.
But get excited because we got another one to talk about next week, as well as a few other things that I haven't planned yet, but we'll plan.
You'll figure.
I'm getting there. Yeah, I like to categorize poisons, and so I like to kind of fit what seems close together. You know what I mean? Like what it seems like they have something in common.
Sure.
Anyway, so this is like I said, I had one more story because this is still not the last Visine case that I know of.
Wow.
Lynn Hernan. I just wanted to give multiple cases on this because it's just strange. It's just a strange way to. It's not a common use of Visine.
No.
So, But like I said, Lynn Hernan, 62, she was found dead in her Wisconsin home in 2018. Her friend, 39-year-old Jesse Krzyzewski, called police to tell them that Lynn was unconscious and not breathing. She apparently found her friend lying there with some crushed medication on her chest and told police that she thought Lynn was suicidal. Now, the medical examiner found tetrahydrozoline poisoning to be her cause of death, and that none of the crushed up meds that it looked like she had possibly overdosed on were even in her body. So It was also discovered that Jesse Krzyzewski had stolen around $290,000 from this friend.
Oh my God.
And this friend relied on her. This friend, she was this friend's caregiver basically at this point because her health had kind of turned downward.
Yeah. So we've seen exploitation of the elderly or the poor.
Pretty rough.
Line of work.
Yeah, this was a lady she trusted.
Yeah.
And when she came under suspicion, she tried to say that Lynn wanted to die and that she had been putting Visine in vodka and drinking it as a way to kill herself for a while. The stories these people come up with, it's
so stupid.
Yeah.
They never consider what the police hear on a regular basis and what they don't.
Or what they're going to find on a toxicology test. I guess people didn't know that you could see this chemical on a tox screen.
If you're going to go, again, I'm not advocating for people to be malicious and murderous, but just think it through. They're going to pin it on you.
You're not going to get away with it.
No.
Just don't do it. Okay?
Anyways.
Also, in situations like the first two, just get a divorce.
Right.
And I know, I guess the money was too tempting for the one case, but it's just oh my gosh. Anyway. So, yeah. None of that really adds up. And she eventually confessed to bringing her friend a water bottle with 6 bottles worth of Visine.
How do you... Okay.
It's odorless, colorless, tasteless.
Okay.
So here we are. Now, I would imagine you would taste something different, but whatever. With 6 bottles. But still said she tried to get her not to drink it. She was like, no, please don't drink it. Here it is, but don't drink it.
Okay.
Yeah. She apparently said she fought with her about it, but she wanted it. She really wanted it. Now, she was found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide and 2 counts of theft. After she was found guilty, they actually found a 37-page note on the back of some trial notes that she had written to a friend asking for help. Basically asking for her to help by making a tape pretending to be Lynn. Not Lynn. Yeah, Lynn. Sorry. Pretending to be Lynn. Telling people that she was choosing to end her life by drinking Visine.
Okay.
The letter gave detailed directions on how to act and sound. It was the friend that actually turned this letter over to police. So, karma. And when Jessie tried to deny that she had written it, the prosecution were able to play a video of her in her bunk in jail, putting papers into an envelope and placing them on another inmate's bed. This other inmate dropped it off to be mailed, and they were like, she did that.
Bro.
So she was sentenced to life with an additional 20 years, 10 years for each count of theft.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's your cases of Visine right there. And I really, look, just to not, make you wait until know what I was going to talk about next, because I will go over this next one next week along with something else.
Sure.
I really wanted to talk about the autumn crocus, where we get colchicine from.
The patient I told you about yesterday, with the history of cancer, she's been taking colchicine on and off for gout. We were going over that. I was like, is this a gout flare-up? Because one of her legs was killing her.
But she has kidney problems?
I think the cancer actually has metastasized to kidneys. I think she lost the cancer was originally diagnosed in her kidneys. She's already lost one.
Oh. So, yeah, but it's got a lot of history and there's some folklore. I'm super excited about it, and I really wanted to put it in here with these because it was like I had, let's see, because this is called Veronal Visine and colchicine. You have Veronal Visine, so 2 V's, and then like colchicine.
Okay. That's what you like about
Visine.
It's phonetically pleasing.
I really wanted to include, but honestly, like I knew when I wrote these notes up, I was like, this is long. I'm not going to be able to do this in just an hour.
Okay. The listeners are fine though. They're like, that's fine.
I know, and see, this is gonna hurt though, because I'm like, I included it in this and I didn't finish it. You didn't finish it. So I think I have a hard time with doing part 1s and part 2s. Even though I know we've done them, I have a hard time because in my mind, it's still left unfinished.
But it's finished by part 3.
I know, but I like to start and finish. I like to finish what I start as soon as I can.
You're going to need to start a new save file on Stardew Valley to cope with this.
I already have like 100, but yeah.
What's another one?
Look, I don't know. I've got problems. They're multiplying. Anyway. That's all I got for you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back with a continuation. We're going to start with colchicine in the next episode.
Yes.
Your face scrunched up a little bit because I said colchicine instead of colchicine.
Let's just, you know what? Let's settle this right here.
Let's do it. Google, how do you say it? Knuckle up, fool. If it says colchicine. Google, how dare you?
It's colchicine.
Oh.
Colchicine.
Get wrecked.
You snorted.
I do. I snort a lot when I laugh.
Okay.
Allergies.
Now that we've settled that, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
And if you say colchicine one more time, I will bury you in the backyard.
That means something so much different after all these episodes.
I didn't say I'd kill you. I said I'd bury you.
Okay. I'm terrified. You guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.